Hello everyone, this is Nitpicking Nerd, and today I want to talk about Star Wars, and I want to offer a theory that might help explain away maybe the most annoying thing about the Star Wars sequel trilogy, the way they kind of ruined the character of Luke Skywalker and killed him off, and that really disappointed a lot of fans who waited 30 years to see the continuation of the Luke Skywalker story and only to see him being humiliated and destroyed and then killed off in such a lame way in Star Wars The Last Jedi. And in the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian, they actually brought Luke Skywalker back in a proper way as a hero who saves the day, and that made a lot of fans happy, but it doesn't completely fix the problem because we know that later on at some point in the future, Luke's new Jedi Academy will get destroyed, all his students will get killed or turn to the dark side, and we don't really know what happens with Grogu, and we know what will happen to Luke himself, and so The Mandalorian cannot completely fix the problem, even if they give Luke some amazing storyline and he'll do some epic stuff before the events that we saw in the sequel trilogy. It still wouldn't completely justify what happens in the end, and because we know the fate of his students is so grim and dark, I guess maybe some of them could have escaped, maybe Grogu escaped again. The fact that Luke trains him will mean that his legacy will not all be for nothing and all of that, so maybe they can salvage something good of it, but we cannot really get proper satisfaction about the end of the Luke Skywalker story. And a lot of fans suggested theories on how to retcon the whole sequel trilogy into a different timeline or to use time travel to erase it, all kinds of theories like that, which I don't really believe will come true. And I don't think they will retcon those movies out of existence. Maybe they'll ignore them, maybe they'll set all kinds of shows set before all of those events. Maybe they'll ignore them, maybe they'll do movies set after or before, without any direct tie-ins, and so fans can pretend as if all of that never happened, but they'll never get the final conclusion that they want for the Luke Skywalker character because it's simply impossible. It's also too expensive to make a younger version of him, so I doubt it will ever happen. But I do think there is a way to fix the main problem of the sequel trilogy, namely The Last Jedi, the way they humiliated Luke Skywalker and killed him off. I do think there's a way to kind of retcon that without erasing or ignoring those movies, and so that's what my theory will be about. So here's the idea. So we know that when the Emperor appeared again in episode 9, he told Kylo Ren that he was the voice that he heard in his mind. The voices of Darth Vader and Snoke were actually of the Emperor trying to influence him and to manipulate him. And we know that he's the one who created Snoke, and it wasn't fully explained, but I guess he was somehow controlling Snoke like a puppet from afar, so Snoke was actually the Emperor, pulling all the strings from afar, and he's the one who got Kylo to turn to the dark side. And I made a theory video before suggesting that maybe he was also trying to influence Luke, trying to get Luke to fall to the dark side, and maybe that's why Luke almost killed Ben Solo in his sleep in that scene when he saw all the darkness that Kylo Ren will do in the future, and so he was tempted to simply kill him to prevent it, but then stopped himself. But it still helped push Kylo over to the edge, and that's part of why he joined to the dark side. He saw Luke trying to kill him, he thought he's going to kill him. So I made a theory video before suggesting that maybe Snoke or Sidious was influencing Luke, trying to get Luke to fall to the dark side by killing his own nephew, and yet Luke stopped himself in the end, and so he didn't fall to the dark side. And this theory can also help redeem Luke a little bit, because, you know, a lot of the fans were outraged at that scene as well. How come Luke even considered doing that, and so that's so out of character and so on. But remember, he almost killed Darth Vader at some point. He was going to strike him down when the Emperor told him to do it, and yet he restrained himself and he didn't do it, and so we can look at it as the same kind of scene of him resisting his own dark side, and he didn't actually do it in the end, and so that's why I think that scene is actually okay. I don't really mind that specific scene, and the only problem I have with that scene is that Kylo apparently overpowers Luke, and Luke gets buried in rubble, and then Kylo leaves and never bothers finishing Luke off, which seems kind of strange. He seemed to think that Luke died and never checked. He never looked for his body, he never tried to finish him, and then later was surprised that he was still alive, and then he and Snoke were looking for him, and so why do all of that if you can simply kill him from the start? So that didn't really make sense, and I think I suggested a theory before that maybe Luke actually did die in that incident, And that's why Kylo thought he was dead, that he sensed he was dead, and later when Rey meets Luke on the island, maybe it's just the spirit of Luke. Maybe Luke is dead at that point and he's just a projection, and that could explain why he simply couldn't really do anything to help the galaxy, and so that can also kind of redeem his character, even though it would still be disappointing for the fans that they never got to see a living Luke doing anything and it's just a spirit. And so the same way as that ending of The Last Jedi was him being just a projection, and yet he can still do something good in the end, they could have revealed that he was actually dead in the whole movie, that he actually died from the get-go, and so everything that Rey saw of him was actually a projection all along. And I made a theory video about that idea as well in the past, but my new idea is maybe the Luke that Rey saw on the island wasn't actually Luke at all. Maybe it was a projection by Sidious to try to influence Rey, to get her to fall to the dark side, just as he did with Kylo. And he said in episode 9 that he was actually speaking to Kylo as if he was the spirit of Darth Vader, or as if he was Snoke, and that way he could manipulate Kylo by projecting all of that into his mind. And so how come he never tried to do it with Rey? We know that he wanted Rey to become his successor. He wanted to move his spirit into her and to live through her and all of that. So wouldn't he be manipulating her from the start? I guess he never knew where she was, but it's kind of strange that he couldn't find her through the Force if he can do all those other amazing things. So how come he never tried to manipulate Rey as he did with Kylo? And so in my theory he can. Maybe he was actually manipulating her, and maybe all the events that we saw in The Last Jedi of her meeting Luke and getting disappointed by him, and Luke kept telling her how the Jedi were a failure and that the Jedi should end and all of that. Maybe it was all designed to get Rey to abandon the way of the Jedi, because she admired the Jedi, she wanted to be a Jedi, and so by hearing Luke himself telling her that the Jedi way is crap, basically, maybe it's the only way to get her off that track, which didn't really work. She still became a Jedi and still trained by herself and all of that. So it didn't really work, but I think it could be interesting to reveal that maybe Luke wasn't on that island at all. Maybe it was all a projection by Sidious pretending to be Luke in front of Rey in order to turn Rey away from the Jedi so that she doesn't become a Jedi, so that his temptation will work later on and she will become a Sith instead. And so this is a way to kind of retcon all of those negative sides of Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. We can simply say it wasn't really Luke at all. It was a projection by Sidious masquerading as Luke to try to get Rey abandon the Jedi way so that she'll later succumb to his temptations later on. And so maybe everything we saw of Luke on that island simply wasn't Luke at all, and maybe Luke was somewhere else entirely. And all of this can be used to explain why the Luke that we saw in The Last Jedi didn't really behave like Luke would behave, and also it's a way to bring him back. It's a way to say that he didn't really die in the end. It's simply the projection of Sidious faded away in the end on the island, but the real Luke is somewhere else on some other planet, and that way we can get the real Luke back and to give him a proper adventure later on. So I think it's technically possible to do it. It will definitely piss off the fans of The Last Jedi who did like the direction of that movie. They definitely would not like that kind of retcon. And another way I would kind of fix some of the problems is by revealing that Rey was actually possessed by Sidious in the end. I actually made an alternate ending of that movie with editing in which I kind of implied that. I showed that maybe Sidious actually did win in the end by possessing Rey just as he wanted, because he told her in the movie that if she kills him, his spirit will move into her, and then she does kill him later on. And so if she did exactly what he wanted, then why didn't his spirit go into her? And so I think it's possible to reveal later on that maybe it did. Maybe that's exactly what happened. Maybe Sidious did win in the end and just pretended as if he didn't. Maybe his spirit did move into Rey, and so Rey can now be the bad guy. So it's possible to do another movie, episode 10, in which Rey will actually be the villain. She will be the Emperor in a new body, and then they can bring Luke Skywalker back as the proper Luke Skywalker, and then have another movie in which they will fix all the mess of the sequel trilogy, and then they can do another new story with the real Luke Skywalker and do everything that the fans wanted. The proper Luke Skywalker, the hero who will start a new Jedi Academy and all of that. So technically they can still do it. Mark Hamill is still alive, so technically they can still do all of that. But I don't really think they will, because that will be kind of admitting that they messed up, and so I feel as if it's not ever going to happen, but I just wanted to throw this idea out there, so just to show that there are always possibilities, there's always a way to fix things, and in a way maybe that will make all of this even more interesting because it's so convoluted and it's such mind games and all of that. So I think in some ways that could be fun, even though I doubt they will ever do it. And also I think the powers that be want to keep things simple so that the entire audience, including children, will understand everything, so they want to keep everything simplistic. They don't want to make everything convoluted and overcomplicated, so that's why I don't think this theory will ever come true, but I still wanted to kind of raise it simply as an interesting what if idea. So that's all I wanted to say about it for today. Let me know what you think and we'll discuss it in the comment section below. And I will see you all next time. Bye bye.